Hello, everybody. We're just going to dive right into this. Some very concerning information has come out in the last 24 hours that potentially Julia Faustyna, or Wendell, is being held against her will by none other than Fia Johansson herself, and that Julia would like to return to Poland. This news comes after a recent report aired on CMTV, a local news channel in Portugal. The show was titled, "Fia Doesn't Let Julia Come Home," where a local journalist claimed she had a private conversation with Julia via text message. Sorry, you're going to see my dog in her little diaper. She's going through the woman thing right now. I know. But recently, I had gotten involved with someone in an independent research group who obtained these text messages from a research team in UK. And the text messages were also featured on the news program, and they indicate Julia is indeed being held against her will. In one exchange, the journalist asks Julia, "Is an investigation going on, or do you think she is taking advantage of you?" Julia responds, "I think she is taking advantage of me because from the moment I called her a liar, she started being mean to me. She says that if I want to come home, I have to give her the money she spent on me, the plane ticket, etc. And that she herself would go to Poland and tell everyone that Peter Ney is innocent, but he is guilty." The journalist then asks, "But why? Is it the police that won't let you go, or is it Fia?" Julia responds, "Fia says that if I go home, Peter Ney will cause problems. She says I have to stay here because everyone will say I'm a liar, but I'm not a liar. She won't let me go out." On the last exchange, the journalist reaches out at another time asking, "Is everything okay? Is there anything new?" And Julia says, "No, but I feel bad. I want to go home to my boyfriend." And the journalist responds, "And why don't you go back?" Julia responds, "Because I don't have permission and I have no money. I thought she, Fia, was going to buy me a plane ticket because in Poland she told me she would. And I asked her, but I can't go home." Yesterday, on April 1st, what actually happened was somebody had seen this news program and had called for a welfare check to the police to have the police come to Fia's home to check on Julia. And this completely outraged Fia. I mean, she went on a crazy storm yesterday on her lives and on her story. And later on, she told people that she was the one who actually sent the police to the house and is making a report on the journalist. Anyway, yesterday, April 1st, Fia got on a live, cursing up a storm, screaming and yelling at the camera about the news report. And she claimed the journalist from CMTV and the one who communicated with Julia had reached out to her to ask her about the situation. I really couldn't listen to the whole thing because Fia was highly erratic and all over the place. I think she thinks that she's getting close to being exposed for who she is. But she accused this journalist, whose name is Diana Cardoso, of being a scammer, just trying to get info about the ongoing investigation. She even went so far as to call the journalist a human trafficker, a claim Fia loves to impose on anyone who dares cross her. Fia stated that she would post all the text message exchanges to her Instagram account at Persian Medium so that everyone would be able to read how much of a scammer this woman is and that she is just trying to fish for information. A screenshot from the live shows one of the exchanges just to give you an example of how delusional Fia is. As you can see here, the journalist's message is in white and she writes saying, "You can see all the messages exchanged with her," referring to Julia. "There's no problem. However, she stopped answering me," referring to Julia. She hasn't answered me for days. I even thought she was in danger. My intention has always been to help her because in addition to being a journalist, I am a human being. Someone will be lying and it's clearly not me. If what Julia told me was happening with you is a lie, it's very serious. Regarding me being part of the traffic rings, you should better confirm your sources because I'm a journalist. She goes on to say Julia is now sending her messages about it and denies that she asked for help and all the other claims she said. She ends it with that she has all the messages and is now denying it, but she has proof. So, Fia was also on this live just going nuts saying that this person is not really a journalist and that she has her team going after this journalist and investigating her and sending a ton of threats. And after this live, Fia, contrary to what she said in the live, did not post any of the exchanges between her and the journalist, only some of the text messages between Julia and the journalist in an attempt to discredit her. And this is where it gets concerning for me because from my own perspective, Julia is easily manipulated and vulnerable to people who can victimize her. And I believe Fia is doing precisely that. She has taken a very vulnerable girl and her story and has turned it into the Fia show and is filling this poor girl with lies. She is messing with her head and making it so she has no idea what reality is anymore. An example of this comes from this particular message between Julia and the journalist. Now, before Julia showed these messages to Fia, she seemingly communicated well with the journalist. Once Julia shared these messages with her, the tone completely changed. And Julia, who seems to think Fia is an actual private investigator, changed her tone after Fia told her that she was a child trafficker, and even went on to pass along a threat from Fia saying she will find her. Are you guys putting together the pieces yet? I mean, I'm deeply concerned for Julia at this point. My tone has kind of changed with Julia, whether Julia was intentionally lying about this situation or she truly is a victim in some way. I truly believe she has mental health issues, and I truly believe that she is a victim in some way. But she is extremely vulnerable to the people around her. And Fia, being highly manipulative, has completely taken advantage of that. And if you're listening and you're someone on the fence about all this, or you are Team Fia and genuinely believe that she is trying to help Julia and not out there for her own publicity, I really want you to ask yourself these questions. Okay? Why is Fia so angry at an investigative journalist covering this story? Wouldn't she want that for Julia? Or does it scare her that she can't control her narrative? I mean, why is Fia trying to claim that this journalist has no credentials and is a sex trafficker, and this person is apparently being looked into by her team? She doesn't have a team, when her credentials are quickly verifiable online and don't require a team. I mean, it was really easy for me to find her credentials. And if you look here, you can see this is her LinkedIn account, and you can see Diana Cardoso. Underneath in her LinkedIn account, she has numerous endorsements about her journalism. She has also been featured in boast.pt. And if you look over here, I translated the Portuguese language into English, and it says Diana Cardoso is one of the journalists that is part of the Cofina's television channel CMT, integrating its authentic army of reporters. Diana stands out for being part of the channel's investigative journalism. You can actually also go to the Cofina media website, and you can see here at the top that it even says Diana Cardoso. It didn't take me long to find that information. And apparently Fia needs her whole team to investigate into this Diana woman to basically debunk her as a journalist. She is a journalist. She's a real investigative journalist who is out there trying to help Julia because she is actually concerned. Now, let's just think about that for a second. Could it be because Fia fears, why is she so upset at this investigative journalist? Shouldn't she be happy that this person is, trying to get involved in Julia's case and help her? Or could it be because she fears being exposed to all of the lies that she has been claiming about her own credentials? Okay. Now let's take a look at some examples of what Fia claims to be, but is not, which is why this is so sinister and why I have been so concerned lately with this whole situation and Julia. Take a look at a live that Fia was on with one of her supporters who asked her to provide proof she was a doctor of psychology and human behavior from Stockholm University. You can see this clearly in her bio on her Instagram right now. She says she is Dr. Fia. She is Dr. Fia, Doctor of Psychology and Human Behavior from Stockholm, Sweden. Take a look at this document she shows. Okay. Now that document looks eerily similar to this document. This is a website where you can easily buy a fake doctor degree from Stockholm, Sweden. And if you look, everything looks exactly the same. And why has Marina Garlikova, hard to pronounce her last name, who is a senior administrative assistant at academic records and student services at Stockholm University, confirmed that Fia never even graduated from there, as seen in this email exchange. Marina was provided with all of Fia's aliases, her birth date, and nothing came up in the records for Fia Johansson as ever graduating from there. Okay, she is not a doctor, and even in the past, she never called herself a doctor until recently. Okay? And how about her private investigator license? It shows here that Fia was terminated in March of 2022 from Your Eye Investigations. And according to Texas law, she must work for an agency for her license to be active. And there is much more to that story that I'll discuss on another episode because there's a lot to it, but she is not a private licensed investigator. So if Fia doesn't care about publicity and fame, then why does she buy her followers? You can see here, the majority of her account is fake. And if she doesn't really care about fame and publicity, then why did she Photoshop her picture on the cover of Forbes magazine? And if she has nothing to hide about her history, why does her story keep changing? Why does her name keep changing? Now, that is only scratching the surface of all the lies and fabrications that I have found about Fia. Fia can't even keep up with her own story currently. I love that she gets on lives every 2 hours because I see all the contradictions from even just a previous live that she did that day of the things that she said. She can't keep up with the lies that she keeps telling. And people blindly are like, oh, yeah, we believe her. She's trying to help Julia. But I will continue to reveal a lot of this stuff in future episodes. Okay. I'm not just going off of what Fia is saying. I am thoroughly going through and collecting evidence against this woman. So if you're a supporter of Fia and you believe she's truly trying to help Julia, I mean, honestly ask yourself, why is it that someone who has lied about their age, their history, their career, their education, and prestige is telling you the truth now? This woman, Julia, let's look at Julia for a second. Julia thought that Fia was a private investigator, that she was a celebrity, and that she was rich and famous. And Fia, using all of those things, convinced her to move from her country all the way to America in hopes of finding out the real story about herself or even seeking help. And that is what really concerns me, because Fia is not a doctor. Fia is not a private investigator. Why would she convince a girl in Poland to come all the way over to help her by claiming that she's all these lies? Ask yourself that. Why is it that she would do something like that if it's not for her own personal gain? Ask yourself how someone who has for over a decade tried to become famous and has even gone to the extent of fabricating a completely fabricated celebrity lifestyle for herself is not in any way using this poor girl for publicity and attention. Why has Fia shut down all social media accounts for Julia? Could it be so she can control any form of communication with Julia? Could it be so now the spotlight is directed towards her? I mean, it's pretty clear when you look at all the media articles written about this story. It's all about Fia and what Fia is doing. And sadly, Julia is a second thought. Now, Fia confirmed on a live 2 days ago that Julia is not Madeleine McCann, but is in fact Julia's mom's daughter. The DNA results haven't come back, but she claimed that her team found evidence. And I honestly think it's just the story has changed because now people are exposing her and now the story needs to change. And so Fia claimed that now her and her team have found evidence that Julia is actually Julia's mom's daughter. Now, that should have ended this whole story. But not if Fia has anything to do with it. Okay? And I will go into detail in my next episode about that. But now she wants to figure out who the father is. Okay? And I'm really concerned because Fia is on her lives asking other victims who might potentially think that they're a missing child or a trafficked child to contact her so she can help them. That's really, really concerning for me because Fia has absolutely no credentials to help anybody. And if you listen to her lives and you tune in to everything that she says, she is highly unprofessional and she is highly unethical. And what she is doing to Julia on a regular basis every single day is continuing to exploit her and victimize her, whether Julia is even in the right mind to understand that or not. Because when you're in an abusive relationship, You are controlled. And Fia has done everything possible to control this girl, even flying her from Poland to America to put her in her house, taking down all of her social media accounts. And this is the most concerning thing too. After all of this, Fia being angry about this journalist and Julia being able to talk to other people, she posted this on her Instagram account, on her story. She said, "Today I got Julia's power of attorney. Today I got Julia's power of attorney. I legally and officially can decide Julia's living and her health and welfare. Good news for Julia's fans and followers. Bad news for people who can't use her anymore." And this comes after an investigative journalist was looking into her and is concerned about the well-being of Julia. And now Fia is going crazy, and she says that now she is legally and officially the power of attorney who can decide Julia's living, health, and welfare. Do you think that that is normal? Do you think that a private investigator who's trying to help somebody is going to completely take over and control their life? That sounds like somebody who is trying to control the story, the narrative, for reasons that it's very clear to me, because Fia does not want to be exposed for who she is. And if other people get control of the narrative, she's going to be exposed. And that is why there are people out here like me who want to make sure that she can never victimize another person again. And I am committed to exposing Fia Johansson so she can never prey upon innocent victims and their families. And I'm not doing this to gain attention. I'm doing this because I hate scammers. I am already a public figure. I already have a lot of eyes on me, not so much anymore because I'm not on television. I am not an attention seeker. I already have attention if I really wanted it, and I don't care about it. I care about sharing information that is really concerning in this situation. I have a podcast, and this whole thing has taken me away from my podcast because this really, really, truly concerns me, because I know what it's like to be a victim, and I don't want victims to be taken advantage of by people like Fia Johansson. I want people to be aware of this very serious situation. And I'm not okay when someone uses victims for their own personal gain. And that is exactly what Fia is doing, whether Julia understands it or not, because I really feel like Fia is filling her head full of smoke and mirrors, so she doesn't even know what's up, down, right, left. Fia has convinced Julia that she's part of a sex trafficking ring and that every other person in the world besides her is a part of this ring who wants to steal her and take her and do all these bad things to her. She's manipulating her so that Julia can't get the real help that she deserves. And I've contacted authorities already, and I'm working on compiling all of my evidence to have her investigated. So this isn't about attention for me, it's about awareness. And I would really love for you guys to help me get this message out there by sharing this video with whoever you think needs to hear it. I mean, I can't do this alone, and thank God there are many others out there trying to do the same. I'm really happy that I finally got connected with some people who are willing to I mean, they've already done a lot of the same work that I have, and we are putting things together and we're compiling things together so that we can hopefully get this woman to never be able to ever be able to help victims. She does it in a very, very terrible manner. Whether she thinks she's helping Julia or not, she's exploiting her and she's continuing to victimize her. If you listen to her lives, she is on there airing all of Julia's dirty laundry. If you were a victim and had things done to you, do you want somebody else spreading your everything that happened to you on all the lives that they do every 4 hours on their Instagram? Sharing all of your health information, sharing all of your documents. Do you think a private investigator would do that? I mean, truly, like, have like those, think critically about this situation, especially if you're someone who's on the fence or supports Fia and what she's doing. Like, think about that. But, you know, the truth will be revealed soon enough. I know that. It's already starting to crumble for her. But until then, I will leave you with this message from Fia.
And while you lied, you can't just get up and think that I am going to allow you, especially from that country, to come to US and use and abuse a vulnerable woman who has mental health condition and physical health condition. Who the fuck you guys are? Are you guys related to whatever had happened to Madeleine McCann in 2027? Why are you so scared? Is it now you guys scared because of Peter Ney that May was involved or anything to do with Maddie's vanish time? Are you working together with them? They want to know who you are and they want to know exactly what is your agenda. Back off from me.